Hey everyone, I'm Nick and welcome to the channel. This is my 2005 Mini Cooper S, and right now it's basically stock, but in the near future I'm going to do some performance mods. And this is my 2001 Mini Cooper S, which is a parts car that I bought for $1,000 with a blown engine. It came with a bigger intercooler, a smaller supercharger pulley for more power, fancy spark plug wires, but I don't know why the engine blew up. Today we're going to try to figure out what happened. And what I'm going to test is the fuel injectors, because if one of them failed, one of the cylinders leaned out, and that's why the piston is damaged and there's all this scoring now. The other possibility is that the fuel injectors just couldn't keep up with the smaller supercharger pulley, couldn't deliver enough fuel, and the whole thing leaned out, and boom. So we're going to dig in and we're going to find out. Now, to test the fuel injectors, we're going to be using this, which is a GATmatic GI-600PB, and we'll go into more detail on it later. Now let's get the fuel injectors out of this engine. They live back here. Here we go. The fuel injectors plug in right here. These are the harnesses and the plugs. And to release them, you can pull this metal clip forward and that'll release it. Because that catches around the little tabs there, through here, to retain the plug in place. Next we have to pull the injectors out. Oh, well, the fuel rail is here, so we're just gonna have to pull the fuel rail up too. Let's get the fuel rail out. We got a 13 millimeter here and here. This one's kind of behind a hose, so we're gonna figure out what we need to do. Once the fuel rail is disconnected, you can pull the injectors out. I'll go into more detail on this process when I upgrade the injectors on the other car. I just have to get these injectors out. To be honest, these don't look amazing. Surprising amount of rust, and they're really jammed in, but we'll go test them out. So I've got all the fuel injectors out. I've let them in the same order, 1, 2, 3, 4, so I know which one's which when testing. And before we test it, let's talk a little bit about this fuel injector tester. It's the GI-600PB from GATmatic, and it comes with the fuel injector tester, an ultrasonic cleaner if you want to clean your fuel injectors, a bunch of wiring because it can run piezo injectors, GDI injectors, EFI, SFI, and motorcycle injectors. So it'll do leak detection, flow testing, and there are even some features for on-vehicle cleaning, which we won't get into in this video. So as you can see, you can test up to 6 injectors at once, measure flow rate, volume, at different duty cycles and pressure, and things like that. So let's get started setting this up. Now this harness here is the one we're going to need. It's our main connector to the unit and a harness for 6 injectors. And that is the same type of plug as this right here. So we'll just be plugging them in like that for the testing. Also have adapter harnesses from that type of plug to this type. Pulse signal transfer cables. Here's a funnel. There's other adapters, GDI universal connectors, fuel separator stopper, main adapters, Mercedes-Benz adapters, GDI narrow adapters, locking screws, which I think we'll need, device adapter, extended threads, eccentric blocks, and injector shims. Nice. A power cord, and here we have our fuel rail. Here we go. 1 port for each injector. We'll have to get the right adapters. I think it's this. So that would thread in, and on one side, and on the other side it would connect to the fuel injector we're testing. And then this will essentially slide on here. Sandwich the injectors between the rail and the receptacles, and we'll run the fuel line. There's a little set of keys, and on the back we have our little storage container. Well, not really storage, it's piping, circuit board, and all that. This here is our fill port for our testing fluid. There's multiple options. People like to use different things for fuel injector testers. They're specifically designed fluids. You can use mineral spirits and kerosene, but it's up to you to decide what you want to use. Use the funnel, fill that up, close it up, And right here we have a little pipe that will show you the level of your testing fluid. So you want to keep it around here. So this will be our supply line for the fuel rail. I think that's everything we need in the back. Now the way this works is when you test your fuel injectors, they'll fill the measuring glasses, and when you're done, it'll actually drain all this back down into the testing tank, so you can just cycle the same testing fluid over and over, which is really convenient. So once it's set up in your workshop, all you have to do is connect your injectors, run the test, and then do what you got to do. It's always ready to go. All right, so let's connect our main harness. The plug is right here, so plug this in. Got that ready. Now what's convenient also is that if you want to power your ultrasonic cleaner, there is an outlet right here that will allow you to plug it in, so you only use one plug for both the tester and the cleaner. And the ultrasonic cleaner actually comes with a little basket to hold the injectors while you clean them, so they don't have to sit inside the bottom of the ultrasonic cleaner. So that's also a really nice feature. So let's check this here. I believe these are the right adapters. Yep, they'll just go on like this. So we'll get our fuel rail here, thread this in. I think we need an O-ring that's included. Let's pop this on right here. All right, thread those on. Now since we're only testing 4 fuel injectors, we'll put the plugs in on the 5 and 6 port. And there we go. That's the fuel rail ready. Now we do have some foil tape here to keep all this closed up and clean in transport. There we go. Lock those in place. Coupler here for the fuel line. There we go. Also store stuff in here. Nice little drawer. Very convenient. So any adapters and stuff can just go in here. I've also connected all the fuel injector harnesses. They're color coded to match these colors, but they're also labeled with a number. All right, so I'm ready to test. I have filled the tank with my testing fluid. I've got a fire extinguisher handy. I've got the garage door open, get some good ventilation, and we're gonna be ready to get started. So I'm gonna plug it in and power it on. Okay, all right. So F1 is uniformity sprayability test, F2 is leakage test, F3 flow test, pulse injection test, auto test, and on-vehicle cleaning with F6. We just cycle through those with the F button. We'll start with uniformity. We can adjust the pressure while it runs. These are the stock mini injectors, so they should run about 330 cc's, and the red line on the mini is about 6,800 RPM. So we'll see that, but we'll test it at 1500 for now. We're on TBI MPFI, so that's good. This button here will drain the glasses. So I think we are ready to test. Oh, we could test the resistance here. 17.7, 17.7, 17.7, and 17.7. Excellent. Cool. So the resistance on each injector is the same. So it seems like so far they look like they're working the same. Let's try our uniformity test. Okay. We can lower the pressure, but that looks good. As nice as the backlight there. They all look like they're working the same. Oh, I guess we can just let it run. Interesting. This one looks like it may not be flowing the same amount. But it's also possible that that is because the fuel rail was empty when we started. So we'll make sure to test that with the flow test. hit stop. Now we can drain these sight glasses with this button. That's cool. Alright. Alright, Zuna test. 3000 RPM, 2500 actuations, I guess. Let's give it a try. Okay, that's interesting. There's a little bit of bubbles in here, but so you can see cylinders 3 and 4 seem to float a little bit more than 1 and 2. So 1 is actually the lowest at 37 milliliters. This one is at 39.40. That's 46, and that is 46. Huh. So that is one possibility. Yeah, certainly seems like 2 of our injectors were not performing at the same level and could have leaned out more than the others. So that is really good to know. So now we know 1 and 2 are a little low. Let's try the auto test. Let's see what this runs us. It'll cycle us through different RPMs. You can really see cylinder 1 was not getting the same amount of fuel. I think we can stop it here. That's a huge difference. Really, you can see 3 and 4, basically the same. Maybe 3 is flowing a little more, but it's probably within the margin of error. 2, definitely lower, and 1, well, we're at like 58. These are like 80, 90 milliliters. It's like not quite half, but not that far off either, which is really concerning. Well, not really concerning anymore because we know the engine blew up. So yeah, that's really, really interesting. Now, just for my curiosity, I'm going to switch these positions, 2 and 1, because I just want to make sure that the fuel is distributing evenly on the fuel rail. So we will drain this. Switch these 2. Okay. Yep, so as you can see, the issue is definitely injector 1. Doesn't matter which position it's in, the fuel pressure is the same across all of them. So I just wanted the peace of mind. That is good to know. Awesome. Well, we have some new information, so let's power this off and we'll talk about it. Well, that was really informative. Cylinder 1 injector and cylinder 2 injectors were not performing at the same level as cylinders 3 and 4. Which means that cylinders 1 and 2 probably leaned out and caused a bunch of damage. Now, that's compounded by the fact that with a smaller supercharger pulley, you're feeding more air in, which means that if you don't have the right injectors or a tune, you could end up leaning out the engine anyway, and I think that's possible on stock injectors that are working. But I don't know if this had a tune, and based on the straight pipe exhaust, I have a suspicion that this car was driven pretty hard. So, stock injectors, supercharger pulley, possibly no tune means that no matter what, it might have leaned out, and the first 2 injectors being weak in the first place made that even worse. So yeah, now we know why this engine blew up. Before wrapping things up, I decided to test some brand new injectors I bought for the yellow Mini. After setting them up, a couple of them didn't fire right away, but I found that increasing the pulse duration helps prime them. Checking the spray pattern, these look a little different from the original injectors because they have 4 holes instead of 2. Then I ran a flow test, and I noticed something a little concerning. It turns out one of the injectors is weaker than the others, and outputs at least 10% less fuel. I really don't want to get the engine tuned only to have it blow up just like in the parts mini, so it's a good thing I tested these. I was able to get in touch with customer support where I bought these, and they sent me a replacement. This really shows how useful a fuel injector tester can be, especially if you're doing any sort of performance mods or tuning. I want to say a huge thank you to GATmatic for providing me with that fuel injector tester, and if you're interested in learning more about them, I'll leave links in the video description. It'll be really nice to have on hand because if I want to get new fuel injectors for a car, I can test them ahead of time, especially if we're doing something unusual, getting some used ones. We really want to make sure they're actually working. And the fact that there's an ultrasonic cleaner means that we could clean them, make sure everything's working, you can backflush them, and anything like that. And as you saw, we can get really clear results if one or more aren't working like the others. If you enjoyed this video, don't forget to leave a like and to hype the video because that really helps me out. And if you have any questions, let me know down in the comments. If you want to see more videos like this, be sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.